Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. If you're using this to fall asleep, get cozy, and relax, don't forget to subscribe, and drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. Alright, let's get into the story. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. If you're listening to this to fall asleep, get cozy, and relax. Today, I'll be sharing with you some real-life crime cases from around the world. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Alright, let's dive in. Kathy Martin was born on October 25, 1959, in the bustling city of Houston, Texas. Her childhood unfolded in a warm, nurturing household filled with love and tranquility. She shared an especially close bond with her older sister, the two of them inseparable as they navigated the joys and challenges of growing up. As a teenager, Kathy's life took a significant turn when she met Mike Odom, a charming young man who would become her lifelong partner. Their romance blossomed, leading to a wedding that marked the beginning of a new chapter. After exchanging vows, Kathy and Mike settled into a quiet, tree-lined suburb just outside Houston, a place where they could build their dreams together. Soon after, the couple welcomed two children into their lives, a daughter and a son. The arrival of their second child prompted Kathy to embrace her role as a stay-at-home mother, dedicating herself to raising her children with care and devotion. Mike, meanwhile, found work at Kathy's father's small sign factory, a steady job that provided for their growing family. Thanks to the generous financial support from Kathy's parents, the couple faced no pressing economic burdens. This stability allowed Kathy to focus entirely on her children, creating a nurturing home without the added stress of outside employment. On March 3, 1987, the rhythm of their lives was shattered. It began as an ordinary day. Kathy stayed home to tend to the children, while Mike headed to work at the factory. After his shift, Mike joined friends at a local bar, a common way to unwind. From a payphone, he dialed home to check on Kathy, but the call went unanswered. A flicker of unease stirred in him. Kathy rarely left the house, especially with the children in her care. He tried again, each unanswered ring tightening the knot of worry in his chest. Unable to shake his growing concern, Mike called their neighbor, Tim Robinson, and asked him to check on Kathy. Tim, a dependable friend, hurried to the Martin residence. He knocked on the front door, but no one answered. Peering through the living room window, he noticed the television flickering, casting a soft glow across the room, an odd detail that heightened his unease. He knocked again, louder this time, but the house remained silent. A sense of dread began to settle over him. Rather than returning home to call Mike or the police, Tim made an impulsive decision. He jumped into his car and drove through the neighborhood, scanning the streets for a police patrol. After a few tense minutes, Tim spotted a police cruiser and flagged it down. Breathlessly, he explained the situation, urging the officers to check on Kathy. The police arrived at the Martin home and, like Tim, received no response to their knocks. Testing the front door, they found it unlocked, a detail that sent a chill through them. Stepping inside, they were met with a scene that would haunt them. In the living room, Kathy's older daughter lay unconscious on the sofa, her small body bruised and still. She was alive but clearly traumatized. The officers immediately called for an ambulance and continued their search of the house. In the nursery, they found Kathy's younger child safe in her crib, blissfully unaware of the chaos. But as they moved through the house, a horrific discovery awaited in another room. Kathy lay on the floor, her body naked and covered in blood, her arms bound tightly with a light cord. The officers knew at once that she was dead. The brutality of the scene was overwhelming. Kathy had been viciously attacked, her life stolen in her own home. Paramedics rushed Kathy's daughter to the hospital, where doctors fought to save her. Meanwhile, the police secured the crime scene and began their investigation. Kathy's father arrived at the house, his face etched with worry, but the officers withheld the grim details, asking him instead to go to the hospital to be with his granddaughter. As he waited anxiously in the hospital, the devastating news reached him through a television news report. His daughter was dead. The words hit like a physical blow, shattering the hope he had clung to. When Mike arrived at the house, the police noticed something unsettling. He was late, and his shirt bore stains that looked suspiciously like blood. They asked him to surrender his clothing, and answer questions. As the investigation deepened, more clues emerged. Bloodstains in the bathroom suggested the attacker had lingered to clean up, attempting to erase evidence of their crime. Forensic experts found no signs of forced entry, and all windows and doors, except the front door, were locked. This led police to speculate that Kathy either knew her attacker or they had a key. The absence of defensive wounds suggested Kathy may have complied with the attacker's demands, perhaps under the threat of harm to her children, only to be betrayed and murdered. At the hospital, doctors discovered that Kathy's daughter had been brutally beaten, likely with bare hands. She hovered in critical condition for hours, her survival uncertain. The medical examiner's report on Kathy revealed the extent of her suffering: 16 stab wounds, most concentrated in her abdomen, and evidence of sexual assault. Biological samples were collected from the scene, but in 1987, DNA analysis was not yet a standard forensic tool. The samples could only reveal the killer's blood type, so they were sent to a lab for further testing. Mike quickly became a person of interest. His late arrival, the suspicious stains on his shirt, and his behavior that evening raised red flags. He had gone out with friends after work, called Kathy from a bar, and asked a neighbor to check on her rather than rushing home himself. To the police, this pattern was familiar. Husbands sometimes staged alibis to distance themselves from their crimes. Digging into Mike's past, they uncovered a criminal record. After high school, he had been arrested for selling drugs to an undercover officer, serving 2 years of a 6-year sentence before parole. Despite this, the police lacked concrete evidence to charge him. Tim, the neighbor, also drew scrutiny. His decision to drive around looking for police rather than calling them directly was unusual. When officers inspected his car, they found blood-like stains on the carpet, which were sent for analysis. Investigators wondered if Mike and Tim could have collaborated, but both men claimed to be at work during the estimated time of Kathy's death, around 1 p.m., hours before her body was discovered at 6 p.m. The police set out to verify their alibis. 2 days later, a ray of hope emerged. Kathy's daughter awoke in the hospital. The police visited, hoping the 4-year-old could provide clues. Tragically, her memory was fragmented, erased by the trauma. She recalled only a light-haired man entering the house, a detail that conflicted with Mike and Tim, both of whom had dark hair. The police didn't dismiss them as suspects, suspecting her recollection might be unreliable due to her injuries. Lab results brought surprising clarity. The stains on Tim's car carpet were motor oil, and the marks on Mike's shirt were paint, not blood. Coworkers confirmed that both men had been at work all day, leaving no window for them to commit the crime. Polygraph tests further supported their claims, showing no signs of deception. With Mike and Tim cleared, the police were forced to broaden their search. Interviews with Kathy's family and friends pointed to a new suspect, Greg, Kathy's brother-in-law. Loved ones revealed that Kathy had frequently complained about Greg's inappropriate behavior. He openly flirted with her, made lewd comments about her appearance, particularly her abdomen, and pressured her for sex. The concentration of stab wounds on Kathy's abdomen took on new significance in light of these revelations. Greg had a history of drug use and a criminal record, making him a compelling suspect. Crucially, his fingerprints and hair found at the scene matched him, though his frequent visits to the Martin home meant these could predate the crime. Kathy's parents were convinced Greg was the killer. Kathy's mother recalled a chilling moment at the hospital. When Greg visited, Kathy's daughter's face contorted with fear, a silent testament to her terror. Yet, when questioned, the girl couldn't recall the events of that day. The police summoned Greg for questioning, but he denied any involvement, claiming he was with a friend at the time of the murder. During the interview, he asked to check his car for an expired parking meter, but fled, never returning to the station. Greg's wife, Kathy's sister, provided a critical detail. On the day of the murder, Greg had dropped her off at 10:30 a.m. and picked her up at 2:30 p.m., leaving a 4-hour window that aligned with Kathy's time of death. Still, the evidence remained circumstantial. A semen sample from Kathy's body revealed a blood type matching Greg's, but this alone wasn't conclusive. The police struggled to build a case strong enough to arrest him. Years passed, but Kathy's family never wavered in their belief that Greg was guilty. In 1998, 11 years after the murder, advances in forensic science prompted a re-examination of the semen sample. Experts extracted a partial DNA profile, which placed Greg among the 2% of the population who could match it, not enough for an arrest. When confronted with this evidence, Greg changed his story, claiming he and Kathy had a romantic relationship and that he had visited her that day, leaving her alive. Kathy's discomfort with his advances made this claim dubious, but without a perfect DNA match, the police couldn't act. The case went cold again. In 2002, forensic scientist Catherine Long offered new hope. Her groundbreaking research explored whether DNA could be recovered from a strangulation victim's body. Her team's experiments confirmed that even brief contact could leave enough skin cells for analysis. Unable to re-examine Kathy's body, the police turned to the light cord used to bind her hands, preserved in a paper bag that prevented moisture damage. Long's team meticulously swabbed the cord, focusing on areas stained with Kathy's blood. Their analysis revealed 2 DNA profiles, Kathy's and a second that perfectly matched Greg's. 15 years after Kathy's death, the evidence was undeniable. Greg had tied her hands and was her killer. He was arrested in 2002. During questioning, he clung to his story of a consensual relationship, but his cellmate later contacted police with a damning revelation. Greg had confessed to him, detailing the crime. Under the influence of drugs, he visited Kathy's home and demanded sex. When she refused, he attacked her daughter, threatening further harm unless Kathy complied. He bound her, assaulted her, and stabbed her to death, then cleaned himself in the bathroom and fled in Mike's clothes. Confronted with his confession, Greg admitted his guilt in 2004. He pleaded guilty in court and was sentenced to 45 years in prison. Tragically, he served only 4 years before dying of liver cancer at age 56. Mike, Kathy's husband, passed away at 45, leaving behind a family forever scarred by loss. Kathy's parents and children endured years of grief, trusting police to deliver justice. Though they suspected Greg from the start, they watched helplessly as he continued to live with Kathy's sister, unable to act until the truth emerged. Michaela Garrett came into the world on January 24, 1979, in Oakland, California, a beacon of hope for her parents, Sharon and Rod Garrett. After 5 years of longing, countless doctor visits, and grueling fertility treatments, her birth felt nothing short of miraculous. Sharon and Rod affectionately dubbed her their miracle child, a testament to the struggles they overcame to bring her into their lives. The family soon grew with the arrival of 2 more children, a daughter named Libby and a son named Alex. In 1986, seeking a fresh start, the Garretts relocated to Hayward, California, where they settled into a cozy home in a close-knit neighborhood, ready to raise their children in a place filled with promise. Michaela was a bright, lively girl, known for her intelligence and impeccable manners. She listened attentively to her parents, absorbing their guidance with a quiet respect that endeared her to everyone. Sharon, a devoted and vigilant mother, kept a close eye on her children, protectiveness heightened by the alarming rise in child abductions across California during the 1980s. Her caution was not without reason, and she ensured her children were never far from adult supervision, their safety always her top priority. On the morning of Saturday, November 19, 1988, the Garrett household buzzed with the usual warmth of a family breakfast. Michaela, now 9 years old, shared laughter and chatter with her parents and siblings. After the meal, her best friend, 9-year-old Katrina Rodriguez, stopped by with an excited request. She wanted Michaela to join her on a quick trip to the Rainbow Market on Mission Boulevard to buy snacks. Sharon hesitated, her maternal instincts flaring. The idea of her daughter venturing out, even to a nearby store, stirred unease. But Michaela, with her earnest assurances that they would be careful and return quickly, pleaded her case. Relenting, Sharon handed Michaela $5, her voice firm as she reminded the girls to stay safe. Before leaving, Michaela turned to her mother, her eyes bright with affection, and said, "I love you." Sharon watched as the girls grabbed their scooters and rode off, their giggles fading into the distance. Rod stepped outside to tinker with the car, while Sharon returned to the kitchen, tackling the breakfast dishes. Unbeknownst to her, the next few minutes would shatter their lives forever. Michaela and Katrina arrived at the Rainbow Market, parking their scooters just outside the store's glass doors. Inside, they wandered the aisles, selecting their treasures: 2 Mountain Dew sodas, 2 beef jerky sticks, and 2 cherry toffees. As they exited, engrossed in a lively discussion about their holiday plans, they forgot about their scooters. It wasn't until they reached the edge of the parking lot that they realized their mistake. Deciding to split up the search, Michaela spotted her scooter first, now oddly positioned 3 parking spaces away, propped beside a car. Without hesitation, she darted toward it, bending down to grab the handlebars. In a sudden, terrifying blur, a man leapt from the car, seized Michaela around the waist, and shoved her into the back seat. The car screeched out of the lot, speeding down Mission Boulevard toward Union City. Katrina, witnessing the horrifying scene, froze, her eyes locked on her friend's desperate struggle. As the car vanished, she snapped out of her shock and sprinted back into the store. Breathless, she alerted the cashier, Rona Rowland, about the kidnapping. Rona wasted no time, dialing the local police and contacting Katrina's father to inform him of the crisis. The police descended on the Rainbow Market, their presence transforming the quiet store into a hub of urgency as they questioned customers and staff. Katrina, overwhelmed and distraught, was allowed to return home with her father. Meanwhile, Sharon, still at home washing dishes, was jolted by Rod bursting through the door, his voice frantic. Michaela's been kidnapped outside the Rainbow Market. Alongside Katrina's father, they raced to the store, where police swarmed the scene. Sharon's heart pounded with a growing dread, a mother's worst fear taking hold. As they waited anxiously for answers, Sharon's thoughts drifted to a troubling memory from the previous week. She had woken early one morning to find Michaela sitting at the breakfast table, scribbling in the dim light. When pressed, Michaela revealed she was writing a poem inspired by strange noises she'd heard in the attic. The poem, she explained, was about people held captive against their will, not those kidnapped and killed. Sharon had found it unsettling, so unlike her typically cheerful daughter. In hindsight, she wondered if it was a premonition, a child's intuitive sense of danger. The thought chilled her as she stood in the chaotic store, clinging to hope. The police gathered initial details from Rona, the cashier. She described the suspect as a white male in his 30s with a mustache, driving a burgundy or maroon car. She recalled him parking outside, peering through the store's window at the girls and other customers without entering, as if casing the place for a robbery. A sketch artist created a composite based on her description, and it was distributed to local police stations and news outlets. Investigators collected Michaela's scooter as evidence, lifting a handprint from the handlebars, which they added to their database in hopes of identifying the kidnapper. The trail, however, went cold. The day after the kidnapping, the FBI joined the investigation, exploring possible links to other local child abductions, though no connections were confirmed. 2 days later, police visited Katrina at home, recognizing her as the primary witness. Her description of the suspect shocked them. It differed starkly from Rona's. Katrina described a young white male in his early 20s, with dirty blonde hair, severe acne scarring, and striking blue eyes she called fox eyes. She vividly recalled him staring at her without seeming to recognize her. The car, she said, was beige or tan, box-shaped, with noticeable body damage. This discrepancy meant the critical first 48 hours had been spent chasing the wrong suspect. New posters with Katrina's description were printed and circulated, and the police began interviewing local offenders for leads. The community rallied, with volunteers going door to door, distributing posters detailing Michaela's appearance: a white t-shirt, rolled-up blue jeans, black Mary Jane shoes, and pearl-colored feather-shaped earrings. The search expanded to nearby Garin Regional Park in Niles Canyon, prompted by a tip from 3 hikers who reported finding adult and child footprints in the forest, along with a blanket and empty fast food containers. Helicopters equipped with infrared cameras scanned the dense woods, while officers searched on horseback and on foot. Despite these efforts, no trace of Michaela was found. Her disappearance gripped the nation, featured on shows like Unsolved Mysteries and America's Most Wanted. Her photo appeared on milk cartons, and the Missing Children's program mailed over 50 million cards with her image and description. San Francisco 49ers quarterback Joe Montana publicly urged anyone with information to come forward. A $70,000 reward was offered, and within the first year, police received over 5,000 tips, most of which led nowhere. Sharon, unwilling to sit idly, conducted her own investigation, following leads as far as Russia, but found no answers. A potential break came between 1991 and 1992 when Roger Haggard, an Indiana inmate serving time for burglary, claimed to have helped bury Michaela's body in a gladiolus field in Union City. Skeptical, investigators initially dismissed him. Undeterred, Haggard wrote to the San Francisco Chronicle in 1992, offering to lead police to the site. Brought to California, he testified before a grand jury, reiterating his claims. After an 8-hour search of the field, Haggard admitted his story was a fabrication, meant to give the Garretts closure. Charged with perjury, he received an additional 6-year sentence and a $6,000 fine for the false hope he inflicted. Another suspect, Lawrence Binder, a 43-year-old wastewater treatment plant worker, drew attention after parents reported his disturbing behavior. Binder sent gifts and money to young girls, writing letters in reverse that required a mirror to read. His light blue van, license plate Love You, was decorated with children's photos and biblical verses. He had a prior arrest for attempting to lure 2 girls, though charges were dropped. Binder inserted himself into missing children cases, contacting Sharon and Kim Swartz, whose daughter Amber disappeared in 1988. Both mothers found his persistence unsettling. Binder's prediction to police that the next victim would be a 9-year-old girl, followed by Michaela's kidnapping, raised alarms. As did a Christmas card he sent an FBI profiler showing a girl holding up 4 fingers, eerily prescient of 4-year-old Amanda Campbell's 1991 disappearance. Despite intense scrutiny, Binder sued Fairfield for defamation and won, leading police to question his involvement. In 2000, Curtis Dean Anderson, arrested for other crimes, confessed to killing Amber Swartz and 13 other women and girls. Pulled over in 1989 in a brown 1977 Chevy sedan matching a witness's description, he became a suspect in Michaela's case. His 2007 death from kidney and liver failure halted further inquiry. In 2012, Wesley Shermantine, part of the Speed Freak Killers, suggested his accomplice Loren Herzog resembled the suspect's sketch. Excavations at a well where they allegedly disposed of bodies uncovered bone fragments, possibly Michaela's, but no definitive evidence emerged. On December 21, 2020, a breakthrough arrived. The Hayward Police Department and FBI announced that David Garrick, 61, had been charged with Michaela's kidnapping and murder. Advances in forensic technology linked his fingerprints to those on Michaela's scooter, collected 32 years earlier. Born February 19, 1961, in Chicago, Garrick's criminal history began at 16 with a 1977 conviction for sexually assaulting a maid at knife point. Paroled in 1978, he was arrested again in 1979 for assault with intent to rape, paroled in 1981. In 1988, he served 6 months for burglary. That same year, his friend Margaret Ball was found brutally beaten and stabbed, her front tooth knocked out. Garrick was convicted of her murder in 2018, sentenced to 18 years to life. DNA later tied him to the 1986 murders of Michelle Xavier and Jennifer Dewey, who were stabbed, shot, and sexually assaulted in Fremont. Garrick now faces 3 counts of murder and 1 count of abduction, with the death penalty possible. Chief Hayward vowed to continue searching for Michaela's remains. Rod Garrett traveled over 100 miles to a press conference, expressing relief at the suspect arrest. Sharon, battling metastatic cancer, couldn't attend but shared a statement through the chief, grappling with the likelihood that Michaela was gone but finding solace in envisioning her in a peaceful afterlife, sitting on clouds, walking golden streets, dancing on hills, and soaring among the stars. Sharon passed away in May 2022, comforted by the hope of reuniting with her daughter. Garrick's attorney, Bernie Castillo, criticized the investigation, calling the fingerprint evidence junk science and questioning its sudden discovery after 32 years. He argued the police were pinning the crime on Garrick to close the case. Katrina, haunted by guilt, believed it should have been her, as the moved scooter was hers. She suppressed childhood memories, carrying the weight of that day. Chuck Euler, a retired lieutenant familiar with Garrick, insisted he deserved the maximum penalty. As Garrick awaits trial, the case remains a complex web of hope, loss, and justice delayed, a testament to a family's unwavering resolve. Michelle Hadley was born on December 20, 1986, in Upland, California, the eldest daughter in a close-knit, conservative family steeped in business success. Raised alongside her younger sister, Michelle grew up under the watchful eyes of parents who instilled discipline and tradition. Her childhood was marked by a strong bond with her family, their values shaping her into a polite, kind-hearted young woman with a straightforward demeanor. Friends admired her honesty, she always spoke her mind, and her knack for resolving conflicts with grace. Diligent from an early age, Michelle tackled her responsibilities with unwavering commitment, a trait that carried her through her school years. In high school, Michelle entered a long-term relationship with her boyfriend, a romance that spanned years and culminated in marriage in 2008. But the dream of wedded bliss soon faded. By 2012, after 4 years, their relationship had unraveled, leaving Michelle disillusioned. The couple divorced in 2013, a painful but necessary step toward reclaiming her life. That same year, a new chapter began when she met Ian Diaz through an online dating site. 9 years her senior, Ian, a U.S. Marshal, seemed like the perfect match for Michelle, who worked in marketing. Their connection felt fated, a whirlwind romance that swept them off their feet. By fall 2014, Ian proposed, and Michelle, filled with hope, accepted. They moved in together, eagerly planning their wedding, convinced they were building a future full of promise. At first, their marriage sparkled with possibility. But as time passed, cracks appeared. Ian's true nature began to surface, subtle at first, then impossible to ignore. Michelle, raised in a conservative household, was blindsided by his increasingly controlling behavior. He urged her to wear revealing clothes that made her uncomfortable, dismissing her reservations with a smile, claiming he wanted to spice things up. Eager to please, Michelle complied, though unease gnawed at her. Ian's requests grew bolder. He suggested she get her belly button pierced, a step she hesitated over but ultimately took, hoping to bridge the growing distance between them. Then came a stranger demand. Ian wanted her to quit her high-paying marketing job and work at Disneyland, a place he loved and where he had once worked. He framed it as a way to keep her safe, but Michelle sensed an ulterior motive, a desire to tighten his grip on her life. Though puzzled, Michelle, driven by love and a wish to make her marriage work, agreed. She took the job at Disneyland, but the role paid far less than her previous position, and she found no joy in it. The change eroded her sense of self. She felt like a stranger in her own skin. When she confided her discomfort to Ian, his response was not empathy but anger, his temper flaring into violence. Shocked and heartbroken, Michelle grappled with the realization that the man she loved was reshaping her into someone she didn't recognize. In 2015, hoping to salvage their bond, Michelle and Ian decided to buy a condominium together in downtown Anaheim. The $470,000 price tag stretched their budget, but Michelle saw it as a chance to rebuild. She handled the $144,000 down payment and paperwork, believing Ian would share the financial load. When the first mortgage payment came due, Ian claimed financial hardship, promising to cover the next month. Trusting him, Michelle carried the burden alone, unaware that Ian had no intention of contributing. The condo, with both their names on the deed, became a symbol of their fracturing relationship. That summer, tensions boiled over. One evening, in a heated altercation inside their car, Ian physically attacked Michelle, leaving her with minor injuries. Devastated, she drafted an emotional email to her sister, pouring out her pain, but never sent it. 2 months after the condo purchase, Michelle made the heart-wrenching decision to leave Ian. She moved back to her parents' home, but the condo's mortgage remained her responsibility, a financial anchor she couldn't escape. Her new job at Disneyland, which she disliked, offered little relief, its lower pay straining her resources. Determined to resolve a mortgage issue amicably, Michelle reached out to Ian through emails, calls, and texts. He ignored her, his silence fueling her frustration. Desperate for answers, she confronted him in person, only to learn the shocking truth. Ian had never planned to pay the mortgage. Furious, Michelle emailed him a warning, stating his actions would have consequences. Infuriated, Ian retaliated by filing for a restraining order, claiming she was harassing him. The police, after reviewing the situation, found fault on both sides and didn't fully support his request. Michelle countered by highlighting Ian's failure to pay the mortgage, escalating the dispute to court. With the help of property lawyers, they reached a settlement in 2016. The court ruled in Michelle's favor, ordering Ian to pay the outstanding mortgage balance, with penalties for noncompliance. Though the ruling stung, Ian had no choice but to comply. By then, Michelle and Ian had officially separated, freeing her from a toxic marriage. For Michelle, it was a new beginning, a chance to rebuild. Ian, however, remained bitter, living in the condo and grudgingly making payments. Eager to move on, Ian turned to dating apps, where he met Angela Connell in January 2016. Born in 1985 in Phoenix, Arizona, Angela had attended a Catholic high school and graduated from Arizona State University in 2006. To Ian, she seemed perfect, a fresh start. Their relationship moved swiftly. Within a month, Ian proposed and Angela moved into the condo. By May 2016, Angela announced she was pregnant with twins, filling Ian with joy. But their happiness was short-lived. Angela received an anonymous, threatening email declaring she wasn't right for Ian. Startled, she suspected her ex-boyfriend, Jason Raburn, with whom she'd had a rocky breakup. Yet doubts lingered. Jason knew nothing of her relationship with Ian, as they'd cut contact. When Ian mentioned the condo's history with his ex-wife, Michelle, Angela's suspicions shifted. More emails arrived from different accounts, each echoing similar threats but worded uniquely. Intrigued, Angela responded to one, demanding the sender's identity. The reply claimed to be from Michelle Hadley. Angela ordered Michelle to stop, but the emails persisted, growing more menacing. Fearful for her safety, Angela sought a restraining order on June 1, 2016, telling police the emails left her anxious and afraid to leave home, worried she might be attacked or killed. The court granted the order, believing the threat was real. Michelle, unaware of the storm brewing, was starting to rebuild her life. One evening in June 2016, after meeting a friend, she returned home to find police officers waiting in her driveway. Stunned but cooperative, she was taken for questioning about the restraining order. During the interrogation, Michelle denied knowing Angela or sending the emails, insisting she was being framed. She mentioned 2 alerts she'd received a week earlier, one from Google about her email account being shut down, and another from Microsoft indicating her email was linked to multiple unknown accounts. Suspecting Ian was impersonating her, she reported the activity to the Anaheim Police Department, but her concerns were dismissed as lies. Unbeknownst to her, the restraining order was just the beginning. The situation darkened. Angela began receiving emails responding to a Craigslist ad she hadn't posted, a disturbing ad describing a sexual coercion fantasy, complete with her phone number, condo address, and even her dog's breed. The precision of the details was chilling. Only Ian and Michelle knew her address. Angela's fear intensified, the thought of someone watching her paralyzing. On June 24, 2016, she was attacked, emerging with bruises on her neck, torn clothes, and a head injury for being slammed against a wall. She called 911, telling police Michelle was her attacker. Convinced a restraining order wasn't enough, the police arrested Michelle. Michelle's conservative parents, determined to handle the matter discreetly, posted her $10,000 bail, leveraging their wealth as successful business owners. While Michelle was out, Angela received more harassing emails, seemingly from Michelle's personal email. On July 13th, Angela called 911 again, reporting a strange man outside her condo. He claimed he was responding to a Craigslist ad posted in Angela's name, featuring explicit content. Police traced the ad to an account linked to Michelle, raising suspicions about her involvement. The next day, July 14th, Michelle was arrested again, this time with a $1 million bail her parents couldn't afford. In jail, Michelle vehemently denied the accusations, insisting someone was using her name. Her parents, believing her innocence, hired a lawyer, fearing the true culprit could keep framing her. While Michelle was incarcerated, the threats to Angela stopped, a 3-month calm that seemed to confirm her guilt. Behind the scenes, Michelle's parents scoured her records, school, hospital, anything to find holes in the case. A breakthrough came when they discovered Michelle was in the hospital the day the first emails were sent, making it impossible for her to be the sender. Determined to trace the emails, Michelle's father downloaded software to uncover their encrypted IP addresses. Then, on September 30th, 2016, a stunning twist. Ian posted Michelle's $1 million bail. Michelle and her family were baffled, questioning his motives. Was he atoning for past wrongs, or was something else at play? Ian soon revealed a bombshell. Angela had framed Michelle. She had used fake email accounts in Michelle's name to send threats to herself and posted the Craigslist ads to incriminate her. The ads' details, known only to Ian and Angela, pointed to their collusion. Ian produced CCTV footage showing Angela's June 24th injuries were self-inflicted. He also uncovered Angela's lies, including a fake pregnancy. She had bought a $7.50 sonogram of twins on Etsy and a positive pregnancy test kit to deceive him. Angela's motives stemmed from 2015, when Ian's frequent complaints about Michelle and the condo dispute piqued her curiosity. Learning of Michelle's wealthy background, Angela saw an opportunity for gain. Ian, still bitter over the court-ordered mortgage payments, wanted revenge. Together, they devised a plan to ruin Michelle. Ian shared her email address, and they created 6 fake accounts using VPNs, triggering the alerts Michelle had reported. Angela escalated the scheme with a Craigslist ad, hoping to ensure Michelle's permanent downfall. Police obtained a search warrant for Angela's devices, uncovering 21 threatening emails, most sent from her and Ian's residence. Some originated in Arizona, where Angela had visited her father during the email campaign. Digging into her past, investigators found a pattern of deception. In 2013, while dating Jason Raburn, a California state trooper, Angela falsely claimed to be a lawyer with cervical cancer. Jason's suspicions ended their relationship, but her lies remained hidden until now. On January 6, 2019, Angela was arrested and pleaded guilty to 10 felonies, including perjury and false imprisonment, earning a 5-year sentence. 3 days later, the Orange County District Attorney's Office cleared Michelle of all charges, ending her ordeal. The wrongful accusations had cost her dearly. She lost her job, abandoned her MBA classes, and endured jail time. But with her name cleared, Michelle rebuilt her life. She earned her MBA, landed a marketing job at a cosmetics company, and moved to New York to live with her sister, embracing a brighter future. Ian, meanwhile, separated from Angela and sold a condo for $500,000. In 2021, his actions caught up with him. Arrested for orchestrating the plot against Michelle, he was convicted of perjury and sentenced to 5 years in prison. The case, a tangled web of deceit and vengeance, left scars but also a testament to Michelle's resilience in the face of betrayal. Natalie Holloway was born on October 21, 1986, in Clinton, Mississippi, to Elizabeth and David Edward Holloway, a couple whose deep love for each other shaped a nurturing home. Despite their divorce after 13 years, Natalie and her younger brother remained close to both parents, with David providing unwavering emotional and financial support. In 2000, Elizabeth remarried George Twitty, and the family relocated to Mountain Brook, Alabama. The transition was seamless for Natalie, whose warm and sociable nature quickly won her new friends. Raised in a devout household, the family attended church every Sunday, instilling in Natalie values of kindness and modesty. With her radiant smile and graceful presence, she was a standout, beautiful, compassionate, and driven. An excellent student, she excelled in dance, participated in school clubs, and dreamed of a career in medicine, securing a substantial scholarship to a local university. In May 2005, Natalie, now 18, joined 124 classmates from Mountain Brook High School on a celebratory trip to Aruba, a sun-drenched island in the southern Caribbean near Venezuela. Accompanied by chaperones, the group stayed at the Holiday Inn, where pristine beaches, swaying palm trees, vibrant restaurants, and lively entertainment venues awaited. For 5 unforgettable days, Natalie and her friends reveled in swimming, sunbathing, dancing, and partying, savoring the freedom of their post-graduation adventure. But on the day of their return, May 30th, 2005, Natalie was nowhere to be found. Her belongings, phone, passport, and personal items remained in her hotel room, but she had vanished without a trace. Elizabeth Twitty, Natalie's mother, was the first to sound the alarm. A chilling instinct told her something was terribly wrong. Natalie was responsible and always stayed in touch. She contacted one of the chaperones, her voice trembling with urgency. Elizabeth and her husband, George, immediately boarded a flight to Aruba, determined to find their daughter. Upon landing, Elizabeth's tenacity outpaced the local authorities, who seemed frustratingly indifferent. The Aruban police brushed off her concerns, suggesting that such disappearances were common. People often missed flights or got lost in bars or with new acquaintances. But Elizabeth knew her daughter's character and refused to accept their complacency, pressing for answers with a mother's fierce resolve. Natalie was last seen leaving Carlos and Charlie's nightclub with Joran van der Sloot, a 17-year-old local known for his charm and questionable reputation. He had offered her a drink, and they left together in a silver Honda, accompanied by two other young men, Deepak and Satish Kalpoe. Hours later, Elizabeth uncovered this lead and alerted the police, leading to the trio's detention. Initially, Joran denied knowing Natalie, but under pressure, he admitted to leaving the bar with her. He claimed they drove around, visited a beach, and dropped her off near the hotel. The Kalpoe brothers corroborated his story, but Elizabeth sensed deception. Surveillance footage from the nightclub deepened her suspicions. It showed Natalie's behavior changing after drinking the beverage Joran gave her, suggesting she may have been drugged. Staff at Carlos and Charlie spoke highly of Natalie, describing her as polite and cheerful, but painted Joran as trouble, a regular who indulged in gambling, used illicit substances, and posted videos of his exploits online. His father, Paulus van der Sloot, a prominent lawyer with judicial ambitions, seemed to shield him from accountability, adding to local distrust. Natalie's disappearance sparked a massive search. Aruban authorities, spurred by international attention, deployed volunteers, divers, and specially trained dogs across the island. The government declared a public holiday to aid the effort, with 50 Marines combing the coastline and a thermal imaging airplane scanning 40 kilometers of terrain. Despite the exhaustive operation, no trace of Natalie emerged. She seemed to have vanished into thin air. On June 30th, investigators discovered a critical inconsistency. No footage showed Natalie entering a building, contradicting Joran's claim that he dropped her off near the hotel. Brought in for questioning again, Joran offered a new story. He now claimed he left Natalie at a location without cameras, not near the hotel, and saw a figure in black approaching her. Hotel security staff on duty that night were detained, suspected of intercepting her, but released on June 13th after no evidence surfaced. On June 9th, Joran, Deepak, and Satish were arrested, sharing a cell with a security guard who overheard a crucial detail. Satish confessed that he and Deepak lied to cover for Joran, leaving him alone with Natalie on the beach. On June 17th, another suspect, DJ Steve Gregory Crows, was detained but released days later. Paulus van der Sloot was questioned on June 22nd and detained briefly, but freed on June 26th due to insufficient evidence. Joran's third account shifted blame to the Kalpoe brothers, claiming he parted ways with Natalie near his home, and she left with them. The story was dismissed as implausible, and a lawyer secured Deepak and Satish's release on July 4th after a brief trial. Joran, born August 6, 1987, in Arnhem, Netherlands, was one of three brothers in a well-off family. A talented student and athlete with plans to attend St. Leo University in Florida, he was also rebellious, clashing with his mother, Anita, an art teacher who called him an incurable liar. His penchant for gambling and reckless behavior made locals wary, though his charisma drew attention, particularly from girls, whom he often manipulated. The investigation pressed on, with U.S. authorities providing financial support and oversight. The Holloway family, desperate to find Natalie alive, offered a $50,000 reward, later raised to $1 million, with $100,000, later $250,000, for information on her remains. New witnesses emerged after the reward announcement. One reported seeing Joran with the Kalpoes at a nightclub between 2:30 and 3 a.m. Another claimed to have seen men hiding a woman's body at a dump on May 30th. Both leads proved false, derailing the investigation. On August 26th, the Kalpoes and another young man were detained, but the arrests, meant to pressure them, yielded no results. By September 3, 2005, all four were released on bail, and a week later, the court lifted all restrictions, leaving the case at a standstill. Joran, detained for 3 months, emerged defiant, capitalizing on his notoriety. He gave TV interviews, claiming Natalie flirted with him and offered sex, which he declined for lack of a condom. During one show, his temper flared, and he threw a glass at the interviewer. A journalist, stung by the incident, collaborated with authorities to bug a friend's car, capturing Joran's chilling confession. He and Natalie had sex on the beach, but she began shaking, lost consciousness, and died. He and a friend disposed of her body at sea. Joran later recanted on another show, claiming he lied to appease his friend, evading consequences. In 2007, Joran published The Case of Natalie Holloway, my own account of her disappearance in Aruba, offering his version of events and an apology to the Holloways. The official investigation stagnated, but in 2008, two new witnesses surfaced. One saw Joran and Paulus on the beach at 4 a.m. on May 30th, Joran disheveled and arguing with his father before driving off. Paulus had an alibi, weakening the lead. Joran's ex-girlfriend recalled him joking about disposing of a body, but his history of lies diminished its weight. Multiple detentions of Joran and Kalpos followed, but each time, lack of evidence led to their release. The Holloway family hired a private investigator, and David Holloway conducted his own inquiries, interviewing locals and searching a landfill. They uncovered police oversights. Natalie's classmates and hotel neighbors were never questioned. Her hotel key was used multiple times that night, and her toothbrush and phone were left behind. Male DNA on the toothbrush offered a potential clue, but Aruban authorities' negligence, failure to secure evidence or pursue leads, hampered progress. Paulus died of a heart attack in 2010, reportedly from the stress of his son's actions. Joran's audacity grew. He attempted to extort the Holloways, offering to reveal Natalie's fate for $250,000. They paid $25,000 up front and met him, where he claimed Natalie resisted his advances, enraging him. He said he pushed her, causing her to hit her head and die, then buried her in a building's foundation. Police disproved this. The house's foundation was set before her disappearance. Joran fled to Peru with the money, but justice soon caught up. On June 1, 2010, 21-year-old Stephanie Flores Ramirez was found dead in a Lima hotel room, severely beaten with a fractured neck. Surveillance footage identified Joran, who confessed after his arrest on the fourth day. He admitted meeting Stephanie at a casino, playing poker, and inviting her to his room. When she discovered his link to Natalie's case on his laptop, she tried to leave. Enraged, Joran beat her to death. The crime, exactly 5 years after Natalie's disappearance, stunned the U.S. Elizabeth Twitty expressed bittersweet relief, noting justice came at the cost of another life. On January 11, 2012, Joran was sentenced to 28 years in Peru for Stephanie's murder and ordered to pay $775,000 to her family. In 2014, he was transferred to Calapalca prison, where he married a Peruvian woman visiting another inmate, manipulating her for personal gain. He showed no remorse. In June 2011, David Holloway petitioned an Alabama court to declare Natalie legally deceased. Elizabeth opposed, hoping Joran would confess. On January 12, 2012, Judge Alan King ruled in favor of the declaration. On June 8, 2023, Joran was extradited to the U.S., charged with extortion and wire fraud in Hoover, Alabama. On October 18th, he entered a plea deal, confessing to murdering Natalie on May 30th, 2005. He admitted bludgeoning her with a cinder block and disposing of her body in the ocean, where sharks likely consumed it. Sentenced to 20 years to run concurrently with his Peruvian term, his confession couldn't be used in Aruban courts. Natalie's case remains open in Aruba, marred by cover-ups, corruption, and delays that allowed her killer to evade justice for years, despite global scrutiny.